My name is Matthew Blake McAllister. I first started using drugs when I was about 15. My my biological father hasn't been in the picture for a long time because he was really kind of rough on me when I was younger. So I had a stepdad that kind of took his place and raised me. But he got cancer when I was 13, and he had it all the way up until he ended up dying when I was 22. And the first time I was using drugs was I would steal his medication that he was on and experiment with it because that wasn't enough anymore and it was too hard to get. So I started doing illicit drugs like meth and heroin, and I was on meth, heroin, pills, and all that stuff for about 10 years. I've OD'd 4 or 5 times to where I've had to be hospitalized for it. Last year in December, I spent Christmas in the hospital. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks because I overdosed on a bottle of pills I got from a doctor. And what finally sent me over the edge was January of this year, 2018. My 19-year-old sister died in a car wreck. She was high on meth, and she ended up flying underneath a tractor trailer, and she died in the car wreck, and that kind of just spun me out of control. I started drinking extremely heavily, and I was on prescription medication for migraines. I started abusing that, and I did it to the point to where I went into liver failure. After that, I said, I can't do this anymore. Like, I'm gonna die. This was the first time I said, I need to go somewhere. I can't. I was just too tired, man. Like, I couldn't continue to wake up every day just to destroy myself. So my mom and my stepfather brought me up here, and I told them off the bat, I was like, this isn't gonna work. I need to go somewhere else. This isn't for me. But I didn't have a choice. I didn't have anywhere to go.
My name is Laurelyn Gocher. I started smoking pot when I was probably 15, 16 years old, and graduated from pot to cocaine at 16, and fell in love with cocaine and had a very destructive relationship with cocaine. I have every type of cardiac arrhythmia that there is. I experience it, and the worst is ventricular tachycardia, and I would become unconscious and fall asleep. That's how I broke my front tooth. I was sitting Indian style on the couch and fell on my face and swallowed my front teeth. And at that point, that's when I started to see a doctor and find out what was wrong with me. And one of the 6 hospitals that I went to, which was actually Lady of the Lake in Baton Rouge, the doctor there decided to give me a pacemaker, even though he knew I have a history of drug use, and it was a liability for him. He did it anyway. And I continued to use after I got my pacemaker for about 4 months. As much as I thought I was a good mom when I was using, how drugs would make me a super mom and I'd be able to get all this stuff done for my kids, it was all a lie. It was not reality. I was taken away from the mother that they could have, and they deserve better than that. If I can't stay sober, I can't have anything. I won't have anything.
My name's Kyle Bio. I've been at the O'Brien house for 3 weeks now. This is my second time coming. I came about 5-6 years ago. I started using when I was 10 years old and started selling drugs when I was 13. I was doing great for a couple of years, had a couple of years sober, and slowly stopped going to AA meetings, started working more. I stopped fellowshipping with the people that actually helped me, my support group. Thus, I ended up going back to what my old habits were, was selling drugs and using drugs. It landed me up in Angola for the last 3 years. So whenever I got to Angola, I knew it was a life or death decision for me. I overdosed 6 times and totaled 7 vehicles. So I made the decision to choose life. While I was in Angola, stipulations of my release was to have a place, a job, and community support before I left. So one of the places that I considered was the O'Brien house because that was on the top of my list. I called a few other places, and really the only option that actually took me in, was able to sign that release that they would take me in, was the O'Brien house.
When I first got here, I was a little, sketched out a little bit, I guess, because I'm not from Baton Rouge. I'm from a small town. A lot of people will judge it by what it looks like and stuff, and I did too. I was a little hesitant when I first walked in. It's not the Taj Mahal or anything, but the biggest pro for me was the structure, because I wasn't really used to that at all. And when I got it finally, it makes you feel almost like a real person again. When you have, rules and things to follow, I used to feel almost like an animal.
The way that the staff treated me, I was welcomed by the clients. It was a great experience. I wasn't scared because I was ready to come and do this. I could imagine how it would be scary for somebody, but I had literally nothing when I got here. I had one suitcase with barely anything, and the next day they made sure that I had clothes that fit me, toiletries, anything that you need, they have it here.
All of the counselors over here genuinely care about us, and I can see that. I've met many counselors and psychiatrists in my lifetime, and I can tell the ones who care and the ones who don't. I was suppressing most of my emotions in prison, and I was looking forward to being able to go to a place like this with compassion and people who really actually wanted to get sober and cared about us to be able to help us. And I knew that I could actually express my emotions for the first time. And I was able to actually look at a tree for the first time, and I started crying. For the first 2 weeks, I was in tears. Every time I was able to taste something, they cooked fried catfish and burgers and pizza. I just hadn't tasted or seen some of the things that I saw that day in a long time. I was able to actually see my sponsor, which they cleared. I've been talking to him on a wall phone for the last 2 years to try to stay sober. So I was actually able to hug him and touch him. And that was amazing for me.
You walk into a place where there's all these people that are going through the same thing you're going through. They've got the same worries that you do, but when you're together talking about it, you're not stressing about it as much because you know you're not alone. And so that's a good feeling. It's like you're walking into your own little community.
You don't need any money. This is not a private facility to where you're paying a whole lot of money. You have people who have compassion for you, understand, and they're willing to show you different ways of being able to get back on your feet, whether that be through your job, whether that be financially or medically. So it's very welcoming.
So far since I've been in O'Brien House, I have gained employment. I've opened a bank account. I am able to support my children financially, even if it's just small, a little contribution. I am paying my own bills.
I've had my current job for a while, so I'm a lot more comfortable in that role. I'm probably about to be hired on full-time over there, so I get benefits and everything as well. My relationship with my mom, who I've always been close to, but deteriorated a lot over the past 10 years or so, has vastly improved. I think it's really because, once you actually see a real change in someone, you tend to trust them more naturally. If I had to say the main thing at O'Brien House that helps to spur people on to continue in their recovery on the right track, it's the resources and the availability of help that you can get here.
People say that you always have a family at O'Brien House because these people genuinely care about you. And I know that if I really needed to talk to a professional counselor about a real issue, that I would be able to contact my counselor or Miss Emily or any one of the people that are qualified to help me.
My counselor here, Miss Chastity, has helped me a lot since I've been here. She's been really helpful as far as my, the money situation goes, understanding that sometimes I can't pay my bill on time, but that's okay, just paying it when I can. And, if you work with them, they really do work with you as far as, money and transportation or anything, anything you need. She's always made sure I was taken care of.
This place needs to be here. And without this place, I don't think I would be able to, I'd be in the mental place that I am right now. And I'm in a good place.
So I know eventually I'll have to leave here. It can't be a forever thing, and I'm kind of actually stressing out about that right now. So what I'm hoping is that if I stay in this phase for a couple more months, that'll slowly take me out of the mindset of being, institutionalized, I guess you could say, or using it as a crutch. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is maybe kind of relieving some of that pressure, learning how to spend some more of my free time on my own without having to have it structured. I'm hoping that the tools that I've learned here will kick in, and I'll be able to make good decisions without having to have somebody, pushing me to do it.
I loved myself again. And it's an amazing feeling. Like I said, I want to bottle it up and give it away to all these people that are suffering. I really do. I wish I could, but it's something that you have to go through on your own. I mean, if I was gonna leave right now, if I got put out right now, I'd be a little scared. But I don't think that's gonna. I mean, as long as you do what you're supposed to do, you can only put yourself out of here.
We had this great idea for this year's video to follow a handful of O'Brien House clients, albeit knowingly perhaps that some might not make it all the way to graduation, but in hopes that we could follow those clients from origin to end and follow their journey, hear them in their own words talk about their experience at O'Brien House. From week 1 to week 4 to week 8 to week 12, and then film their graduation. Just to show the public exactly how important it is to receive the resources that clients do at O'Brien House, and also to follow the relationship that develops between client and staff, because it is a very special one. All of the clients probably deserved a longer length of stay than they received, and some were even probably discharged early, and that's why they're not here anymore. Normally we have a success story in our annual videos, and we present you with some really happy success story, an alumni member that has succeeded and graduated. We don't have that for you this year. And it's not because we haven't had any successes at O'Brien House. We do. It's just that the successes are fewer and far between because the formula has been changed on us. We have fewer resources to do what we know to do and what we know works.
Some people need longer time, with budget cuts and program changes. 60 days is not really a long time for a person to change their lives. But the people who work here work very hard every day to make sure we give the clients what they need in the short time that they're here.
1 in 6 adults suffers from some sort of substance abuse problem. And we are just one resource in Baton Rouge, and yet we don't have enough resources in our community. It's hard to sit and watch places like O'Brien House struggle to do things like, fix a leaky roof and pay for an air conditioner, when other nonprofits can raise millions and millions of dollars, and we serve a need that is very, very prevalent and common and expensive for our state. What we do is good, it works, and we operate very lean.
It takes $105 about a day to house one client, which is $3,100 a month. On any given day, we may have 6 clients here that we're getting absolutely nothing for. We have clients that come in without clothes, shoes, underwear. A lot of that stuff, staff takes that out of their own pockets and does that. And we're not making a whole lot of money. It's a nonprofit, so we're giving from our hearts, and we'd be glad to give it. But it does help when we have, people donating money for specific things. They deserve more, but you can't give them more because we just can't afford it.
So many people need these resources, and it does cost us so much money to treat it. Why can't we spend spend the money to help prevent and rehabilitate. The truth is, I'd love to be able to say that it isn't all about money, and that might be true if I were speaking for another cause, but we do serve indigent and homeless clients. Unfortunately, that requires money because they cannot pay for themselves. And as you've heard, we do not have enough. So unfortunately, that's where I come to you. This fundraiser has become a pretty big part of our annual fundraising. And so I hope you can do what you can to help us.
This is home for me. I love what I do. I love the clients that I serve. I love the people that I work with. I love the mission because I know that it works.